Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need, from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms, and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rollins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of ProView Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Good morning and welcome to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also on Facebook Live as well. Ed Nunez, Scott Galletti is on assignment this week and will return next Tuesday. With us, our special guest is former UNM quarterback Ned James. He's the Zeal coordinator of student athletes at the University of New Mexico. And Ned, great to have you with us.
Yes, glad to be here, man. Appreciate you bringing me down here, man. This is new to me, this ProView Network studio. This is great.
Well, you and J.J. Buck from 610 and myself were on the opening drive a couple weeks ago, and we had you and I have known each other a while. We hadn't seen each other in a while. Yeah. I remember when you were the quarterback at the University of New Mexico, and I remember playing some basketball with you at Johnson Gym, and we had talked about some old Johnson Gym memories. You still are in contact with Charlie Thomas, some old Lobos, and Luke Longley. Back in the day, there wasn't the Davalos Center, so. The Lobos, I understand, play mostly at the Davalos Center now. They don't come to Johnson and play on campus. But back then they did. Yeah. And I'll tell you what, man, I remember playing with Darryl McGee, Rob Robbins, Charlie, Hunter Green. I played with some of the old Lobos, Petey Gibson. I played with a lot of them. And I remember, it was kill or be killed, man. Because if you lost, it was going, because there's 20 dudes deep, man.
Yeah, that's where the love began. You have to understand. Back in the old days, see, we're old guys now. We're not the young guys that we used to be back when. But back in those days, everybody played over at Johnson Gym, so that's where we had all the fights with the Johnny Browns and the Darryl McGees and all those guys that would play over at Johnson Gym. And so it was a little bit, football and basketball were a little bit more connected because, the guys were around each other. Even though, you saw guys at parties and everything. Here now, with the Davalos Center now, those guys practice over there at Pitt. And so there's not as much interaction between the two sports. But I do believe, though, the guys are still close. I mean, we do a lot with, my Zeal program that I coordinate over at UNM and through the Cultural Center. We have a lot of overlap with the basketball players because I talk to a lot of them and I try to explain to them that, it's important that they get on campus and, engage with the rest of the student population, which is important for the student athlete experience. And so, there's a little bit of crossover now, and that's good because, when you get to be our age, you see guys, me coaching in the NFL, I've been able to kind of run into, some of our former Lobo players, in different cities, different states. And so it's always good to kind of reconnect, and, you got to have some kind of commonality. I mean, guys remember you when you play. A lot of guys talk to me about playing football, but, I remember, the Lukes and the Charlies Thomases and the Daryl McGee's and those guys when they played basketball. So it's really nice to be back. I've been back here, 2.5, almost 3 years now, and so it's really nice to kind of reconnect with all the people that are here.
Well, it's kind of funny, you mentioned Daryl McGee, rest in peace. Yes. Daryl, it's funny because Rob Newton, it's funny when I started playing, I played a lot with the Lobos. I wasn't never as athletic or anything, but I got on the court with him every day. And so Daryl, one of the memories I have, and him and I got to be really good friends. But if you set a pick on him, I remember I'm going to sling you to the floor. Well, if you do that, I'm going to sling you right back. So you had to get respect, man. It was about getting respect for sure. And but Daryl, God, who I loved. I loved him, man. He was a good dude.
Yeah, rest in peace. Daryl was hilarious.
Corpus Christi, Texas.
Corpus Christi, he was the original trash talker, man. He had the best lines. Noxzema, he used to tell you Noxzema. I was like, Noxzema, that's the cold cream that they put on your face. And that was like face. When he shot a shot, he would sell Noxzema instead of face. And so I always remember that about Daryl McGee. But Daryl McGee, it's like, you had Johnson Gym Warriors. You had guys who played in Johnson Gym who might not have been able to play on the Lobos basketball team, but yet, they were competitive in Johnson Gym. Yeah,
that was
so
me.
there were a lot of guys. I mean, we had a lot of guys. I mean, regular guys who just, probably played high school ball and didn't get recruited or whatever. And that's what, made it great because there was a better connection between the student population and the Lobo athletes. And so, we're trying to incorporate some things to get the guys to come on campus a little bit more. And I think it's working a little bit. Just, because times change and things change, and we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have social media accounts, and guys are into social media. I'm learning more and more every day about this social media thing. So it's a different generation. So we just have to adapt with the times. So.
Talk about your role as the Zeal coordinator on the campus of the University of New Mexico. You get to go to spring football practice. You get to, I saw you, I do PA for Lobo baseball. I see you out there at Santa Ana Field. Yeah. I'm sure you go to the pit to watch. Hey, you're Lobo through and through. And we talked about this on the opening drive a couple weeks ago. Someone called in and you said, hey, Lobos are going 12-0, man. Right? I mean, you're cherry and silver. I mean, that's probably not going to happen, but you're a Lobo, man.
Oh yeah.
So talk about your role as the Zeal coordinator on the campus.
Yes, I'm Lobo through and through. So it's interesting when you do the sports talk radio show now, because that's a recent phenomenon where people call in, they have opinions, and you get Aggies to call in because Aggies. And it's great because I like the the banter back and forth with our little brothers to the south. I call them the New Mexico State Aggies. But the sports talk show thing, everybody's kind of their own expert, whether it's on professional sports, whether it's on Lobo athletics or high school athletics. And, you get into these little back and forths with these callers. And, the one guy that called it is a little bit negative towards, the environment of what's happening over at UNM and the Lobos. And, I see it from a broader perspective because I've been all over the world. I've coached, in several different states around the country and been, different
Coach some
parts
pros
of the world.
too. Coach on the pro level.
In the pro level, but more importantly, just being different parts of the world, being in Europe, being in Mexico, and seeing the different styles and different philosophies on sport. It only brings you back to where you came from and lets you know that hey, there is a lot of positive that's being done at the university level, and there's a lot of people that work really hard to ensure the success of UNM, and there's a lot of resources that are thrown at it, and guys spend a lot of time and effort in trying to make sure and ensure that these student athletes perform at the best levels and succeed at the highest levels.
Now, you worked with former Albuquerque High Bulldog Scott Carruthers, who was there for many years, then he moved on to the state, which was great for him. Now, your everyday role now, you're involved with athletes, and what's your role in pulling, are you a mentor to them?
Well, I coordinate with I try to use former student athletes that are in the community, and I try to connect and just basically use them as mentors, because a lot of times student athletes are just, placed in this environment. You get a guy from Chicago, you get a guy from Miami or Australia or what have you, and they don't know the culture and the rhythm of the city. And a lot of times, you need someone who's been here primarily as a student athlete who's, for whatever reason decided to stay in Albuquerque and make it their home. just to kind of help them navigate through some of the twists and turns that they're going to go through as a new student at UNM, or as just a transplant coming from, you know, the Miamis of the world, and the Chicagos and Detroit. Because I remember guys coming. I remember when I myself came from Los Angeles, it wasn't as big a transition for me because I was an East LA guy. So the Hispanic culture, the Mexican culture was really kind of not new to me. So it wasn't hard. But guys from Detroit, guys from
Kenny
Chicago, Whitehead, Webo, those guys from Chicago, it was different for them. I mean, it was hard. It helped that we had guys in the community that had played prior to us that would come in and kind of tell us, hey, these are the places you need to stay out of. This is where you need to, you know, concentrate, get your degree. You know, you don't want to not get your degree and then have to, you know, come back, pay for it yourself. You know, while they're paying for it, you need to make sure, you know, you get, because not everybody's going to the NFL, even though everybody thought they were going to NFL or NBA. And so, you know, those are the kind of the things that I'm trying to bring back. And you know, I just want more engagement from, you know, former Lobos and people who care about the universities to kind of mentor some of these guys who are, you know, coming in and kind of get them away from campus, because they're over with advisors and coaches all day, every day. And they kind of need a different perspective from people in the community to see how the benefits of being here in Albuquerque.
So your job is really to make a lot of community connections, and
Right.
somebody that played here in '85, and you played with under head coach Jolie Dunn.
Yeah.
And so Jolie Dunn, people might forget, but I remember all the coaches since Rudy Feldman, and I remember, you know, Joe Morrison had a 10 in one season in '82, and people forget we didn't go to a bowl. There was the bowls that there was then. We lost one game, and that was to BYU, and I remember it was on ABC regional TV, and BYU got us good. They got us good.
Yeah, Jeff Apodaca, who ran for governor this year, was interesting. But yeah, those guys were all on that team. Yeah, Jolie Dunn, I mean, a lot of people are watching these blitzes, and I hate to take credit. I always tease the guys, even the NFL guys, I tease the coaches, that, you know, we really invented the passing game out west. I mean, you know, the Holmgrens, the Mike Shanahans, all those guys got all that stuff from BYU, Bill Walsh. You know, Dennis Erickson was up at Wyoming, all these NFL guys. Brian Billick was at San Diego State. Andy Reid was at UTEP. All these guys who are prominent NFL guys basically grew up in the old WAC conference here.
I didn't know Andy Reid was at UTEP.
Yeah.
That is very
all
interesting.
All these guys, you know, who are the so-called passing gurus now in the NFL, made their starts in the West, out west here, in BYU's, at the San Diego States and those places. And then, you know, their systems, they took them to the NFL, and that's why a lot of these guys, and the way the passing game is kind of taught was derived here. And now Jolie Dunn, going back to Jolie Dunn, the blitz schemes that you see now in college with the 3-3-5s and those kind of things that people were talking about was really created with Jolie Dunn here at New Mexico. And when Jolie went to South Carolina, and then when he went to Ole Miss and those places there, I mean, he really kind of changed the way certain philosophies on blitzing were used and how they're used now. Rocky Long's entire system is predicated on what he learned from Jolie Dunn, because he coached under Jolie Dunn.
Yeah.
And Rocky Long's been one of the most successful defensive coaches. That's why he's been, you know, doing what he's done. But it all stemmed from Jolie Dunn, and just those kind of things. You know, I've got 100 million stories about, you know, coaching that I can go through. But you know, the Albuquerque and being here at UNM and what the university has done for my life, as far as, you know, preparing me to do what I've done, you know, as far as coaching, is I'm really thankful for, and I'm glad to be back here to be able to give back a little bit.
Receivers coach for the Tennessee Titans, also for the Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah.
You told a really good story when we were on break at 610 on the opening drive a couple weeks ago about Derek Mason, which I found, you know, you're coaching a lot of, you know what, you always said this too, Ned, that wide receivers, every team has a diva, man.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Terrell Owens.
Antonio Brown's not the first.
Right. Michael Irvin was a big diva.
Always, yeah.
So,
you know, it comes with the territory, and it's not always at receiver too. You got divas at different positions, and that's why, you know, we were talking a little bit about the draft, but, you know, the NFL is just this unique animal. It's a unique beast because of, you know, people see a lot of the financial issues in there with guys making so much money. And, you know, I mean, I tell you what, I stand on that sideline and watch those guys whack each other. And I tell myself, I didn't play that game. I played football, but I don't know what they're doing out there, because they're knocking the crap out of each other. And it's a really tough, brutal game. And those guys deserve everything they make. But yet and still, you know, you have these unique personalities. You got guys from different parts of the country. You got guys come up with different backgrounds, and you just never know, who's going to stand out, who's going to play well. Chemistry is important. Having the right chemistry is almost as important as the talent in a lot of ways, because you got to have guys that can get along and you can be successful with.
So hard to even win one. Yeah. We're going to take a break and be back with more with Ned James after these messages on the Sports Desk.
By Gabby O'Hara, number 35. Corner three's up, and it's good. Good move to the basket. Alyssa. Shot is up, and it's good. Mark back to check that. It's not Benali, it's Gallegos. Shot goes up. This time she gives it up to her teammate, who spins and scores. Thinks twice about the three, penetrates, splits the double team. To Marcus, he's not afraid. He penetrates, puts it up with a back, bringing it up. Is she going to take it all the way? And indeed she does. Lays it up and good by Estrella Sanchez. Offensive rebound. But there's a countdown. He goes, oh, the block. Get that out of here. Mackey puts it up.
High school sports are back. The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every ProView Network broadcast live on the NFHS network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProViewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
Ah!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Don't sacrifice quality and flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Talk to State Farm agent Greg Shamus today.
Sadie's is a proud supporter of New Mexico high school sports and athletics, and we here at ProView Networks would like to thank Sadie's for their continued support in helping us bring you all of your New Mexico high school sports coverage.
Welcome back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on the Facebook page. Ed Nunez along with former UNM quarterback Ned James. And Ned, a great first segment. So many things have happened in your life. You've been a part of so many teams, coaching in Europe, coaching Tennessee Titans, Seattle Seahawks, just to name a few. And so your experiences, I think it's great that you're in the position you are at the University of New Mexico, because there's so many things, advice. You played here, and the city's changed a little bit, still pretty much what it is, right? It was a Lobo basketball town in '85 when you played here. Gary Colson was the coach. They came off that scandal in '79 with the Lobos, and Kerry Colson's rebuilding the program. And football was exciting again when Joe Morrison was 10-1 here. You had fans out at the stadium, but still, I still remember walking around the concourse. I went to UNM, graduated in '86, and once the football team lost one game, the questions around the concourse: when does basketball season start? What's changed, Ned? Now we talked about this at length on 610 a couple weeks ago. I'm a huge Lobo football fan. I follow, I watch. But and they've got, again, they've got 19 junior college transfers, I believe, coming in. I think he's Coach Bob Davie in his 8th year, I believe, is in a win now mode. I mean, they won 9 games 2 years ago, and they got to a bowl game, and it didn't translate to fans in the stands. Now apathy sets in. It seems like a lot, and for me, I like the team. I like watching. But last year seemed to have been one of the worst seasons I've ever seen, and I saw Mike Shepard days. I saw a lot of the days, and I just don't get it. Now, we talked about this at length, and I don't know if you can shed any more light, and also what you've kind of seen around at their Dream-style stadium at some of the practices.
Sure. People have to realize that it takes time to develop, and it takes persistence in the community in order for these teams to achieve greatness and success. Sure, everything works in cycles. You're going to have some down years. No matter what school you're at, you're going to have some down years. Now, you're at Alabama, you probably got a lot of resources, and so there's an expectation, and sure, you're going to win some games in this period. They're winning with Saban, and that's fine. And not to compare us to the Alabamas or the Notre Dames or the Michigans and those kind of people, but the issue here, I still believe, is it just takes a little bit of time. You're going to have these lulls in the program. I don't think that we have bad coaches or we have bad players. I just think, every now and then you hit on a guy, you hit on a Terrence Mathis, you hit on a Dontrell Moore, you hit on some great players, and then that's when you can get it rolling. So you've got to, the Urlachers, you've got to realize that sometimes it just takes a little bit longer to kind of hit your stride and then get back to those winning ways. Now, it hasn't changed in 35 years, believe it or not. In my opinion, the city has changed a little bit. It's got a little bigger. But for the most part, it's pretty much the same in this regard. Everyone was always asking, when does basketball season start, when football season was missed. Now, people enjoyed football because, people enjoy pro football. People enjoy college football. They see the highlights. They enjoy seeing successful Lobo football players at the next level, which happens on occasion. And so people enjoy football. Football is, America's #1 sport now with the NFL. It's just that we hit these lulls sometimes, and so we just have to give it time. People will come back out. You got to start winning. You start winning, people will come out. I don't think the city is apathetic towards football. They're apathetic towards losing. They don't want to lose. Once the winning starts, they'll come back. Just like with basketball, they'll come back once the basketball team picks up speed, picks up momentum, and starts winning some games, and that'll happen. Who's to say when it'll happen, but it'll happen, and it's going to get better. And the thing that's fascinating to me is the sports talk show, this show, Sports Desk, and all these other shows, because the people call in from around the country or from around the city and state, and there are other teams that are favorites. Like, it's just fascinating to me that there are a lot of Aggies in town. Mm-hmm. I should have known that before there were Aggies in town, but there are a lot of New Mexico State Aggies in town, in the state legislature, and they want to hear about New Mexico State. Well, not in this city. That's why I'm on the radio. That's why guys give me a hard time. I was like, well, yeah, we'll talk about our little brothers. I'm proud of our little brothers to the south and the New Mexico State Aggies. But at the same time, this is Cherry Silver country. This is Loboville. So we have to, just let them understand that, yeah, we're okay with you guys. But at the same time, we are the front porch to the state. We're the front porch to the rest of the country. And so Lobo athletics and Lobo football and Lobo basketball are the #1 thing in this state. So that being said, I'm enjoying my time being back here. I'm enjoying, as far as the NFL and that experience and everything, everybody in the NFL, pro players to a man, all read the newspaper, read the social media. They want to know how their college teams are doing. And like at the Senior Bowl, I told you a story about Brian Urlacher and having the guy who drafted him, the guy who was with the Chicago Bears at the time, his name is escaping me right now, but he was sitting next to me, and Urlacher looked like a fish out of water. He had no idea how to play outside linebacker because he played that hybrid position in
The Lobo
position
Right.
in college. And so he looked, and so when all the other coaches left and I was left there, because I said, hey, I'm just watching. I'm an offensive guy. I'm just watching Urlacher because he went to the same university I went to at the Senior Bowl. The guy says, hey, I don't care what these guys are saying. I'm going to take that big sucker, stick him in the middle in Chicago, and make him a middle linebacker. And lo and behold, what do you have?
Hall of Famer.
You got
Hall of
you got
Famer,
Hall
man.
of Famer.
Hall of Famer.
And so it's just a matter of, it's like with the Lobo football team. It's just a matter of getting one guy, somebody who believes in the guy, and that guy has the kind of, talent as well as the, want to be a great player like Brian did, and then, your team will take off. And so that's, it's just a matter of time. Our little brothers to the south had that time come a couple of years back when they went on that run with the football team and went out and won that bowl game. I was happy for
Huge.
New Mexico
That was
State.
huge.
That was huge for the Aggies. But as far as them kind of sticking their chest out, thinking they're better, so I don't think that'll ever be. But I'm happy for the success.
I'm like you. I'm a Lobo, but you know what? I'll say this, and I've got to be objective. I'm not. I've got friends that are Aggie fans. You do too. But I'll say this: that Marvin Menzies has done a heck of a job over there with the model that they have. They're doing a little bit better than what we're doing right now. Now, Chris Jans was a good hire for the basketball program. That turned out pretty well. Eddie Nunez, the athletic director, UNM athletic director. I think there's a lot of things. I think you're right. Things are going to get better. Coach Weir had a good first season. Not such a good second season. We talked about this a couple weeks ago too. They've got talent coming in again, right? They've got big talent coming in for next year. And Mathis returning, I think that's big. They can switch him back to the 2 guard, and they've got Jaquan Lyle from Ohio State. Everyone can't wait to see him, right? They can't wait. But you and I talked about this too, Ned. And there wasn't a lot of dog and fight in that team, man. One guy's like, what? I'm not putting up. You were on teams. You coached teams. That guy that says, there's no way I'm allowing this to happen. Let's go. Yeah. And I just didn't see that this year.
Yeah, I think social media has changed the way guys behave. For some reason, these guys are under a lot more pressure than we had. If they were social media when we were playing, at Johnson Gym, there have been a lot of guys in jail because we fought all the time. But nowadays, you can't fight. Kids have to be a lot more careful today than when we played. I mean, because of the impact of what the social media thing is. And just, I guess, I don't know, it just seems like there's just a lot more rules and everything in place than they were when we were around. I mean, not to say that what we were doing was right, but at the same time, I just think the spotlight on these guys right now is just a little bit heavier than it was when we played. But that being said, I mean, you still have to produce. I mean, you still, it's like football. Football hasn't changed. It's still about tackling and blocking and being able to make plays. Basketball is the same. You got to put the ball in the hoop. You got to score. You got to play good defense. And those are the things that the Lobos are going to have to just, and I know they have a plan. It's just that we're just going to have to get a little bit better at it than we have been in the past.
Well, again, last year, I think they just struggled. I didn't see any consistency. Win 1, lose 3, win 2, lose 2. I didn't see any winning consistency, and I thought we would. Now, I think the world of Coach Weir, I think you do too. I don't know who doesn't like the guy. Yeah. He's a Lobo through and through, and I was a little bit skeptical coming from New Mexico State. I was, But as a person, we had him here last March, and I don't think you can get a better guy, right? But you can have nice guys, and if you don't win here, the Lobo basketball is the king here. Yeah. You know that. Yeah. And if he doesn't win this year, the Wolves are already kind of howling in the back. Yeah. That crescendo gets a little bit louder. Now, of course I want them to win. I want every program we have here to win. So I think, this year is going to be, I don't know if it's a pivotal year, but it's an important one. I'll say that.
Yeah. But, as a coach, that coming in that, winning is the barometer. That's where you're judged. That's where you're basically hired to do. I mean, you got to win games, and these guys have to win games, and they understand they have to win games. I think Paul, it doesn't matter how nice of a guy he is or how smart he is and all that other stuff that people, kind of, use to judge, how well a coach can do and will do in the future. None of that matters if you don't put the skins on the wall, so to speak. You've got to be able to, count some wins. You've got to be able to do some things in order to be successful. And I think he's moving in the right direction. It's just that, people are not as patient. This is a Burger King generation. People want to have it their way. They want to have it now. They want to have it, success. They see the Alabamas or they see the, the Dukes, and they want that what they see on TV. So, and it's just, to me, the patience, it's in the coaching. I mean, it's like I get more of a benefit going in and watching practice, or Paul Weir, once let me come in and watch them, do their film work and do, how they teach. watch how they teach, off the court. And those are the kind of things I enjoy watching, enjoy trying to understand and see how the game has evolved and how it's changed with the technology. A lot of the things that they're using now as far as how their teaching models are. I was sitting down with Paul Weir and explaining to him, we in the NFL, they use a lot of the same kind of practicum that these guys use to kind of get their message across to the players and their teaching models. And so it's really fascinating. The game has evolved. Guys have to adjust and change with the times. And I think these guys are doing it, and I think that's a good thing. I think moving forward, we've got the right pieces in place. We just have to execute.
I think one of the things that he said here when he interviewed with Scott Galletti and myself was that he wanted a three-point shooting team. That was better than what he had. Now the first year they do pretty well, but they had Antono Jackson, Logwood, Furtstinger, who were leaders. Those guys were leaders. Antono Jackson, a grad guy. Yeah. Furtstinger, not the greatest player, but there's some dog in that guy, right? Yeah. Sam Logwood, same thing. Yeah. So this year I didn't see that leader. I didn't see a leader really emerge that takes the team and says, no, we're not letting that happen. Maybe that's where Jaquan Lyle comes in. But I think the way the game has changed, you mentioned it's evolved, and it has. Especially the three-point shooting, and somebody mentioned this on a talk show radio show the other day, the geometry of the game because of where these kids are shooting now. Damian Lillard, it ends the game 37 almost from half court. Yeah. Now, it used to be back in the day, those were horrible shots, long rebounds. Right. You didn't want that. Now, everything has changed, man. Yeah. Everything has changed, and the three-point shot is really important.
But saying that, and still, the big dog's got to eat. It's a big man's world. You could say what you ever want. I'm watching Philadelphia last night. When Joel Embiid wants to take over, he can take over the game. And you could say it's all about the long ball. It's all about shooting the stretch and three. And guys are kind of saying the geometry is changing, but is it really changing? You still got to have big, strong men to win in football, big, strong men to win in baseball, big, strong men to win in football. You're going to have big, strong, talented guys in order to win. And so the game, it has evolved. Guys are shooting. Steph Curry is a generational talent with his shot making. Lillard made the one big three-pointer in the game to kill him. So he may have practiced that shot, which he said he had practiced it. These are professionals. So in some ways, to me, it's almost expected that they make. That's their job. And so in a lot of ways, the game has evolved from that standpoint, but at the same time, man, it's a big man's world. Those Shaquille O'Neals, those, it's like Jokic last night with Denver,
and big game he had last night.
And Embiid last night, it's still a big man's world. So we still have to kind of, I understand the shooters world with Harden and the traveling and the Euro step and all that stuff, but the game always comes back to its basics. Yeah.
We'll take a short break and be back with more of Ned James on the Sports Desk.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or DreamStyleRemodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlings, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
The Barley Room, proud sponsor of ProView Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
Back to the Sports Desk live on Comcast Channel 26, also streamed on Facebook. Ed Nunez, along with former UNM quarterback Ned James. He's the Zeal coordinator of student athletics on the campus of the University of New Mexico. And we've covered a lot of ground here, Ned. But you know, one of the things you said in our last segment was that you have to have that player, you know, those players. And you mentioned Brian Urlacher, Terrence Mathis. You played with him a little bit here. And you know, remember the book on Terrence coming out of college was he didn't have the football speed, right? But what they didn't, you know, what's the guy have? 770 receptions in the NFL, All Pro a couple times, went to a Super Bowl. So that was the book on him, right? He didn't wow anybody with a stopwatch, but he had, after the catch, they didn't account for his speed then.
Yeah. Well, Terrence was sneaky athletic. I mean, he could have made the UNM basketball team. He got in a little trouble, so they took him off the basketball team because they had him on the basketball team.
He was on the bench, I remember.
Yeah. And but the NFL is unique. Most sports are unique, you know, because you have, like, we just went through the NFL draft, and what happens a lot of times, like you said, Terrence didn't have the track speed, but he had great football speed. Because I played against him 5 times. I played against him 6 times. I won 1 in the NFL. It was great because, you know, here's a guy you played with, and now you're coaching against him in the NFL. And so it was just great to see his success. And, you know, for a guy to play as many years as he played, 13, 14 years in the NFL, I mean, that's a testament, because when the average, you know, a time an NFL player plays is really 3 to 4 years in the NFL. But the draft is unique in that, you know, you have these guys, people watch the Mel Kiper Juniors. By the way, there's all kinds of jokes about Mel Kiper Jr. in the draft room, because I've been in those draft rooms where, you know, these veteran coaches are saying, hey, this guy, he doesn't know, he's probably getting a cut from the agent or something to promote
He's
a guy.
been on that show since '84, though, man.
It doesn't matter.
I know, but it's like Mel Kiper, Guru, and some of these picks that he's talked about have been busts.
But even scouts, I mean, you have to realize, and sure, there's a process, and you know, these guys know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about, they know, you know, it's not a guessing game, but it still is. You know, you're trying to project a guy into another league, into a profession that, you know, a lot of effort and time and talent has to go into. And there's a lot of different areas that you have to have an expertise in order to be successful. So when a guy projects a guy, say, hey, this guy's a can't miss, he's a 6'5", 220-pound quarterback with a rocket arm, and he runs a 4.8 or whatever, and that's the prototypical, he's got a 30 on the Wonderlic test, you know, that guy's going to be successful in the NFL. Not necessarily. I mean, guys will say, hey, I know, I've been doing this 20 years, and this guy's, it's like, you know, Bill Walsh, who's one of the greatest coaches of all time, he said Rick Meyer would be the next Joe Montana. Now, Rick Meyer looked like Joe Montana in practice, but he looked like Joe Montano in the NFL games, because he could not transfer the skills that he had in practice. And he played at Notre Dame, played at a big school, had first rounders all around him at Notre Dame. Well, now the field is even. Now you got, there's some things you're going to have to, you know, fight through injuries. You're going to have to fight through, hey, this team, you're not going to be able to throw on that right corner because they're paying him $8 million and you ain't completing passes on him. So, you know, there's a strategy to it. There's a lot involved in it. You know, guys who were, you know, it's just like, you know, you see these big, strong guys that, you know, they can lift the gym. And, you know, you see a guy who looks like he's been eating donuts for, you know, the last 5 years, and that guy will whip the guy who looks like Tarzan every play.
It's interesting. So there's the intangibles. The intangibles that you can't measure. You can't, you know.
There's lots of, and that's why they say, you know, the majority of players in the NFL were drafted 4th round or later. You know, the majority of players that are playing on NFL rosters now were drafted 4th round or later because people automatically believe if a guy's in the 1st round, hey, this guy's going to play 10, 15 years in the NFL. And that's not always the case. And, you know, there's injuries and there's other things that come up. But at the same time, it's not an exact science. And it's great to see. That's why I always promote Lobo, you know, football players who I think are capable of playing at the next level. You know, like last season when I spent with the Cleveland Browns, there were a lot of guys who knew players that are on our team. And that's why I tell the fans, I said, get out here and watch these players because you never know. You may be seeing the next Urlacher or Terrence Mathers or Don Perkins, and, you know, those guys that played in the NFL. So it's important that we do, you know, support our local teams. And the Lobos, I mean, Lobo football is the front porch of this state to the rest of the country. And we need to support these players because whenever I'm out, you know, I tell people I went to the University of New Mexico, they'll bring up Terrence, they'll bring up Urlacher. You know, and it brings people to the city. It brings people to the state, and I think this is a great place.
Well, remember, Stoney Case also saw some NFL action.
Yeah.
But the guy I want to ask you about who intrigues me as a pro prospect, Delane Hart-Johnson, right? Okay, he's got the size, right?
Yeah.
He's got the speed. He's got the strength. I think he signed a free agent contract with somebody.
Seattle.
But when I looked at that guy, I'm thinking, man, that guy's got NFL written all over him, right? But didn't play in a big passing system here at the University of New Mexico. But maybe that's a guy that goes on to the NFL and has success. He's got the size. You would think it could be a red zone target. You'd think there's a lot of things with the Delane Hart-Johnson.
Absolutely. But one thing happens. You're at Notre Dame. You're at New Mexico. You're the star. You're the star at Alabama. And you're just getting fed the ball. And you're getting, you know, you're making all these great catches. You're doing all this. Well, you show up to an NFL training camp. You got to go cover a punt. You got to go down and cover a kickoff. You got to go and protect on a punt. You got to be able to understand, you know, how to play 3 positions on offense. You got to play some running back, some slot receiver, and some one. So intellect has a little bit to do with it. So there are a lot of variables that go into a guy being able to
just
play.
one position.
Not just one position. And when you're not drafted number 1 overall, you don't get a whole lot of time. They don't have a whole lot of time to spend with you. They can't put you in the special ed class and try to catch you up slowly because you don't learn as fast. You know, there's an expectation, you know, of you having the talent and the wherewithal and intellect in order to understand,
to absorb,
to absorb information quickly and be able to practice it, and the coaches have to be able to trust you in a game in order for them to feel comfortable with putting you on the roster. And so it's tight. You know, there were free agents. We had 2 free agent receivers make it over a draft pick last year in Cleveland, and the reason why they made it was special teams and intellect. They were smart. They could learn different positions. You didn't have, and the guy who was drafted, who was a 4th rounder, wasn't particularly smart, and so it took him time, and so they don't have time because coaches get fired every year, you know. So they, you know, it's like, hey, they'll ask the receivers coach. I'm sitting in the meetings. Well, who do you think? It says, well, your draft pick can't pick the stuff up. We got this undrafted guy out of Fresno State who's in the Mountain West Conference, Damari Scott. He knows all 3 positions. And he plays special teams, and he's a punt returner. So it's those little variables, those are the things that help you to overcome some of the obstacles you may have as a non-drafted player going into the NFL.
Now, you talk about game changers and people that might make a difference. You've been out to Lobo spring practice a lot.
Yeah.
You know, Drennan's returning. Q Drennan is returning. You know, he broke his hip or had a real serious hip injury. He'll be back. But, you know, and I think that's going to help their receiving core. They've got speed to burn. Jay Griffin the 4th, right?
Yeah.
Now, do you see
they got
any
a track team out
right
there.
now?
Elijah Lilly,
But you mentioned though, got to be able to get him the ball. And we talked about Tavaka Toyota. You know, and he hasn't been able to stay healthy. What have you seen anybody out there that you see like? Because you've seen it, Ned. That passes the eye test, like, man, that you're just like, wow, this could really be a guy that makes a difference for the Lobos winning 3 or winning 6.
Yeah.
Do you see anything like that?
One of the things that at UNM spring practice that I've noticed is that the guys that are, you know, like you said, Q Drennan, these guys aren't really practicing because they're coming off these injuries. You know, and the guys that could possibly wow you, you know, are limited in practice. Trent Sellers, a defensive end out of Georgia, from Georgia Tech.
Missed the season last year.
Missed the season last season because he had to sit out, and then he had a knee injury. He had a ACL surgery. And so he's coming back. Those guys, there's a guy out there who's slimmed down, who looks like a Power 5 guy. When you turn around and look at him, and he's playing better. It's a kid out of a junior college transfer named Javon Mosley. They call him J-Mo. And now he's about 6'8". He's probably about 315. He's a right tackle. He's improved. I think he's the guy potentially you're gonna hear things about moving forward.
I think Van Tate did a feature on him a couple weeks ago. So yeah, I know he is.
He's an interesting guy out there. As far as the wow, I'm looking at the track. I'm trying to see guys to break away. The one guy to me who stood out, and I keep getting on him when I see him because I think he's undersized. I mean, not height-wise, but weight-wise, is the tight end from Cleveland High School, Williams.
Right, Marcus Williams.
Marcus Williams. Now, he's jumped out from the tight end position to me. I mean, he's a guy who, if he could get some blocking, skills, I mean, he could really, change the way the game is played defensively because they're going to have to account for him because he can run like a receiver and he's playing tight end.
Made some plays last year, early in the season.
Yeah, and he's the one guy, if I had to say a guy that jumped out to me as I watched the practices this spring, he would be probably the only guy that's jumped out. Even though they've got some speed at receiver, they've got a new quarterback I like a little bit. But
say his name, the new quarterback.
His name is Brant, I can't think of his last name.
Transfer
from junior college up north in Northern California. Sunshine, I call him Sunshine because he's got the flowing locks and all that sort of stuff from California. He's from California. But I like him, smart, accurate. He's got a high football IQ, I think. And so I'm curious to see how he fits in because Tavaka, in all fairness, Tavaka looks the best in practice. I mean, he's got the natural talent. And he really looks good. And I've told you my story about guys who look good in practice. He's got to put the skins on the wall. He's got to win some FBS games. But the top talent out there is Sharon Jones at quarterback. Sharon is talented, not as accurate in practice as Tavaka. He's got to be a little bit more consistent in his play in practice. But it's good. It's good to have a good problem like that. You've got guys at that position that can play. But like they say, when you got three, that means you don't have one. So you got to find the one. And one of these guys is going to eventually have to, take the lead on this thing and carry this team as the starting quarterback.
Well, we saw some good things from Sharon Jones in one game, but we'll have to see it. As you mentioned, it's still a work in progress, no question about it. Hopefully they come up with one good quarterback to start the season. We'll be back on the sports desk after these messages.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walking to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
High school sports are back. The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every ProView Network broadcast live on the NFHS network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProViewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be happening.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Oh, it's happening, sweetheart.
Shut up.
Shut up!
That's why State Farm is there, with car insurance for when things go wrong, but also here with car loans to help life go right. State Farm.
Talk to State Farm agent Marty Size or Michelle Rudolph in Albuquerque today.
Don't sacrifice quality of flavor when you're in a hurry. Golden Pride offers ribs, fried chicken, green and red chili breakfast burritos, and Frontier Cinnabons. 4 great locations, or visit us online at goldenpride@abq.com. Golden Pride Barbecue Chicken and Ribs, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
One last segment here on the sports desk. Ed Nunez, along with former UNM quarterback Ned James, the Zeal coordinator of student athletes on the campus at the University of New Mexico. Ned, great talk, and I think you've enlightened us a little bit about the football program at UNM, which I know means a lot to you, man. Number 17 back in the day. You know, you're a sideline reporter for KKOB on game day, along with Robert Portnoy and Dontrell Moore. And gosh, people forget how good Dontrell Moore was, and you remember getting hurt, and unfortunately, in the against Navy in the bowl game. Otherwise, he might have had a pro career. I think he would have. But you know, I want to go. You're able to talk about a lot of different subjects, and one of the subjects I want to talk about is the NBA playoffs. Now, in full swing, Denver beating Portland last night. Houston and Golden State match up again tonight. Game 1 won by Golden State on Sunday. And the Rockets sent a clip to the NBA offices talking about 18 calls that were missed in last year's series. Now, Jim Rome went all in on them this morning when I was on the way up here.
Is that right?
You know, saying if you're talking about that, you're losing focus on what matters. Now, Isaiah Thomas back in the day said we didn't worry about, you know, the guys calling the games. We worried about what we could control. So I was just kind of wondering what Houston, Golden State. Houston, I think, has to win tonight. I do.
Well, we got a little bit of the crybaby parent thing going on, I think. You know, the parents yelling at the little referee at the Little League football game with Sean Payton of the New Orleans Saints, and now these coaches about foul calls. I mean, it all evens out in the end. I mean, everybody's kind of making a big deal. You know, they're targeting certain officials. Things happen through the course of a game. There's the human element to the game. I think a lot of it, it kind of spoils the whole environment of what the playoffs are supposed to be about. It's supposed to be, the most competitive, the most talented, and the most competitive time of the year. It's very hard to win a playoff game at every level, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. And so, guys get a little testy during this time, and their expectations are so high, that they believe that, it's impossible for them to, do something wrong. And there's a human element to officiating. And I understand, these guys being upset, these games are tight, they're called a certain way. Some officials call it one way, other officials call it a different way, but it's a part of the game. I mean, you just have to adjust. And officials let you know early on how they're going to call the game. Those guys know how they're calling the game from the beginning, and they stay pretty consistent. These are the best officials. For all sports, all professional sports, the officials that are graded the highest do the playoff games. In pro basketball, it's the same way. They're getting the best of the best officiating. And do humans make mistakes? Sure, they've made mistakes. They've probably had calls go in their favor that they should have went against them. So I think it's a little bit, crying over spilled milk, and it's not really necessary.
Kind of funny though, because official Scott Foster, who the Rockets have openly feuded with in February, James Harden said he was rude and arrogant. He's officiating tonight. Now these games are already assigned. The NBA is not trying to stick it to Houston. Scott Foster is one of the best, right? Sure. But I thought it was kind of funny that the other day after the game, James Harden says, "I just want the game called fairly." Now, what he wants is his calls. Everybody wants their calls. I officiated high school basketball for 22 years. I didn't officiate on the college or pro level, but I know about that because anytime I thought the call was a good one, 50% of the people are mad, right? I don't like little Johnny or little Billy. It wasn't as bad then. One guy waited for me after the game one time. That was the only one, and I would have. I just kept walking because I'm not going to put myself at that level and listen to him. Now I kept looking back because you never know. But I just
you shouldn't have to look back. That's the sad part about it. You shouldn't have to look over your shoulder if you're an official. You're doing the best job you can. Hey, we're all human. We make mistakes. Some guys make mistakes. It's not saying that it's perfect. That's why people enjoy the game. That's why you have a job as a sports talk show host, because you get to call in and hear all the griping of the people who are actually really, really intent and involved. intense and involved in watching the game and understanding the game and trying to make sure they get a fair.
Well, heck,
fair
you coach at the pro level, and you understand. I think I understood this as I got older. Very passionate about the Dallas Cowboys, right? About the Lobos, about the Lakers, a little bit about the Yankees back in the day when Reggie Jackson played. So, and I had to understand though, it's a game, right? And I tell people that who want to give me a hard time when Dallas says, hey, well, the sun still came up. I still got to go to work. I still got payments I got to make. Jerry Jones didn't call me on the phone to see what I thought. It's still a game, but some people, as you mentioned, and you hear that when you host with JJ, and JJ's a great host. JJ's he's a real low key guy, right? But he's right. It's he says it too. The fans' expectations here, whether it be with the Lobos, whoever, are they unrealistic? Of course they are, right? Of course.
It makes it great, yeah.
Right, but I think going back to the playoffs, do you have a favorite? I mean, do you have a favorite who you think is going to win? I still think Golden State's going to, at the end of it all, I think they're still going to win. I wanted Milwaukee in the East. They hadn't won in a long time, but Boston really took it to them in Game 1.
Well, I'm kind of cheering for the Denver Nuggets because JJ likes the Denver Nuggets, and it's local. I'm demographically biased because I lived in the South, and I grew up a USC fan as a kid. And in the South, the Deep South, they actually believe they invented football. Like, they think that nobody plays football west of the Mississippi River. Like, it's a bunch of just soft people out there. They're kind of kooky and crazy. And so I like to cheer for teams demographically. And I like Denver because it's closer here to New Mexico, make a lot of people here in New Mexico happy. The Nuggets get a chance to win. They were the second seed, going into the West. And I know the romantic picks are Houston and Golden State and maybe Portland because of Lillard. But I like Denver, the underdog, to win it, since our Lakers aren't in there, and I like the Lakers. But, I kind of like demographic. Last like I was telling you about the Dallas Cowboys. And the Garrett brothers are friends of mine, Jason, John, and Judd. And I cheer for them because I think Albuquerque's a Dallas Cowboy city. And people laugh at me and get mad and say, "Oh, I like the Denver Broncos or the Pittsburgh Steelers."
Few Raider fans.
But the majority of the people, when you go to sports bars, they love Dallas Cowboys. So I cheer for Dallas. And I want to see Denver in this case because, geographically, we're here at Albuquerque. There's a lot of Denver Broncos fans. So it'll be fun when you go out to the sports bars and meet and talk to people because they'll be excited about Denver having a chance.
Tell you what, Jokic had a big game last night. He really did. He played very well. So we'll have to see how that goes. We've got about 2 minutes left, and I want to ask you, you've coached at several different pro levels. Best player you ever coached?
Best player I ever coached? Wow. That's a good one. Joey Galloway, that guy could float, man. He was one of the fastest guys. People don't like Pac-Man Jones, one of the most phenomenal punt returners I'd ever been around.
You coached him?
Coached Pac-Man, yeah, boy, that was tough. Pac-Man Jones. I got some stories.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure. That's a whole nother show.
Yeah. But, boy, the best player, that's a good one that I've ever coached.
I wouldn't doubt it would be Joey Galloway. Joey Galloway was man.
Joey was my first pro guy that I worked with. We had Brian Blades, of course, and we've had, I had Derek Mason down in Tennessee, and in New Orleans I coached linebackers, Mark Fields, and some of those guys were really talented athletes. But Joey Galloway I thought was really special because I'd never seen a rookie come in to the league. Pac-Man was good as a rookie, as a punt returner coming into the league. I thought it was phenomenal, but just Joey Galloway and his just breakaway speed and just the fact that he could really, roll by people early in his career.
Hey, what Cowboys gave up 2 for him, number 1 and a number 2. Now, it didn't work out. At that time, Troy Aikman, the offensive line, they were on the downswing.
Joey told me when I talked to him recently, he had a shoulder during that time, too. That really was bad, and he just really kind of, I think he thought that hurt him a lot in Dallas, even though he was pretty good in Dallas, too.
He was something special.
Yeah.
Hey, that speed was just unbelievable. Ned James, UNM Zeal, coordinator of student athletes, former UNM Lobo quarterback, also the sideline reporter for KKOB during Lobo football broadcasts. Catch him there. Thanks so much for being our guest, man.
Glad to be here.
That was a lot of fun.
You,
For producer Alden Iwani, I'm Ed Nunez. We'll be back next week on the Sports Desk.
Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog! Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened?
Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
Dreamstyle Remodeling has been wowing homeowners in New Mexico since 1989. Selected as Best Custom Home Remodeler for 3 consecutive years by readers of the Albuquerque Journal, we're also your exclusive provider for top home improvement brands like Renewal by Anderson, Four Seasons, Blaze King, and many others. Founded and headquartered in Albuquerque, Dreamstyle Remodeling is family-owned and now employs more than 500 people across the southwestern U.S. In fact, we've helped more than 60,000 homeowners improve their home in New Mexico, Arizona, California, Idaho, and West Texas. We're committed to providing a superior customer experience. We've earned 4.6 stars with hundreds of online reviews and have an A+ with the BBB. Dreamstyle Remodeling is a proud supporter of UNM Athletics. Visit our beautiful 10,000 square foot showroom at 1460 Renaissance Boulevard across from Sam's Club or dreamstyleremodeling.com to make your home remodeling dreams come true.
Get into the game with Garden Swartz Team Sales. They have everything you need from screen printing, embroidery, and digital printing services, high school letterman jackets, and all high school and club uniforms and individual and team apparel with the most reliable brands like Speedline, Rawlins, and Wilson. And don't forget to check out the latest F7 Shut helmet. It's all at Garden Swartz Team Sales. Give them a call, 505-884-1234. Garden Swartz Team Sales.
The Barley Room, a proud sponsor of ProView Networks for over 9 years, is pleased to introduce Black Iron Catering. From weddings and family reunions to birthdays and office parties, Black Iron Catering is perfect for any event. Contact Jamie at 505-459-8259 and book your event today. Black Iron Catering. Let us bring our kitchen to you.
The service department at Gala Chevrolet is clean, modern, and ready for you. Our master technicians service every make and model, including certified service on any GM vehicle. Service done right the first time, every time, right here at the all-new Gala Chevrolet.
By Gabby O'Hara, number 35. Corner three's up, and it's good. Good move to the basket. Alyssa. Shot is up, and it's good. Mark back to check that. It's not Benali, it's Gallegos. Shot goes up. This time she gives it up to her teammate, who spins and scores. Thinks twice about the three, penetrates, splits the double team. To Marcus, he's not afraid, he penetrates, puts it up with the back, bringing it up. Is she going to take it all the way? And indeed she does, lays it up, and good by Estrella Sanchez. Offensive rebound. But there's a countdown, he goes, oh, the block! Get that out of here. Mackey puts it up.
Well, I'm going to the frontier, walk up to the cashier, order up a root beer and a number one. Cover it with green stuff, one scoop is not enough. Find a booth is real tough, back by the Duke. Meet my family, meet my friends in the quirkiest restaurant I have ever been. All of Albuquerque's favorite spot, it's the Frontier Restaurant.
The Frontier Restaurant is a proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
The Sports Desk is proudly presented by Car Crafters. It's like it never happened.
Car Crafters, proud supporter of ProView Sports Network.
Are you sure we're supposed to be doing this?
Don't worry, I've watched him do it 1,000 times. Come on, what's the worst that can happen?
No! Bad dog!
Hi, welcome to Car Crafters. What happened? Don't worry, we'll make it like it never happened.
Car Crafters, it's like it never happened.
High school sports are back. The 2018-19 season kicks off, and you could watch every ProView Network broadcast live on the NFHS network. Every moment, from every game, from every sport, including all NMAA state championships. Get your highly discounted monthly pass now. Go to ProViewNetworks.com and sign up. Watch New Mexico's best.
Is this my car?
State Farm knows that for every one of those moments,
This is ridiculous!
there's one of these.
Is this my car? What? This is ridiculous.
This can't be happening!
This can't be